Hi, everyone. Larry Bailey here with Mortgage Workflow Partners, bringing you another weekly update for what's going on in the markets from last week. Today is October 28th, 2024. We're going to go through the events that happened in October, the week of October 21st, 2024. We saw a lot of mixed news on home sales. While unemployment filings suggested that employers have slowed down their pace of hiring, here's the stories we're going to go through. Existing home sales slide for the second straight month. We've got new home sales beating estimates. Then we get into continuing jobless claims at their highest level since November 2021. And last but not least, we've got the latest LEI and Beige Book suggesting a slowing economy. This news is brought to you from mbshighway.com. It's where it's sourced. But it's also brought to you from the Mastering Encompass series. If you're really serious about how you use your Encompass platform, brought to you from Ice Mortgage Technology, you need to head over to masterengencompass.com. Not only can you learn how to use the Encompass platform as a user, whether you're in sales or processing, closing, underwriting, executive leadership, or even post closing, but you can also learn how to be an administrator in ways that you may have never been exposed to before. All the certification programs out there are fantastic, but the one for Mastering Encompass is unique because it goes through each and every setting, not only with the Encompass desktop platform, but also the Encompass web platform, all of the Consumer Connect settings, and all the TPO Connect settings. So check it out at masterengencompass.com. Let's get into this first story. Existing home sales slide for the second straight month. We see an image on screen here talking about the months between September 23 through August and September 24, and you can see how the sales pace has really just slightly changed, certainly not increasing at the velocity. So existing home sales, which also reflect the closings on existing homes, so not new construction, they fell for the second straight month in September, down 1% from August and 3.5% down from a year ago. The 3.84 million unit pace represents a 14-year low, as NAR chief economist Lawrence Young noted that, quote, home sales have been essentially stuck at around a 4 million unit pace for the last 12 months. By the way, the NAR, that's National Association of Realtors, in case you didn't know that acronym. Regarding inventory, there were 1.39 million homes available for sale at the end of September, up 1.5% from August and 23% from a year earlier. While this sounds like a big jump, of course, 23%, the rise is from a very low number and inventory remains well below pre-pandemic levels. Plus, many homes counted in the existing inventory are already under contract, so they're not really truly available for purchase, meaning inventory is even tighter than the reporting indicates. In fact, there were only 941,000, quote, active listings at the end of last month. An active listing, in case you don't know, is one that's truly available. So we see these 1.39 million homes available, but really it's only 941,000. And that's across the entire country for 315 million people. It's not a lot of inventory, especially if it's not available in where you live, right? So the bottom line here is while the numbers of closings have declined in September, some of the internals within the report point to buyer demand. Homes remain on the market for just an average of 28 days in September, and while that's an increase from 26 days in August, it's still a relatively short period of time. In addition, 20% of the homes sold above the list price, showing that there's still bidding wars in about a fifth of the sales nationwide. Plus, competition is expected to rise, of course, as rates move lower. All in all, the pent up demand, of course, for homes combined with ongoing tight supply continues to bode well for housing as an investment and continued home prices appreciation over time. Now, as I've said before, I'm in southern New Jersey, and in my town, I think there were a total of maybe, I don't know, 20 houses for sale. But no joke, not too far from where I am, there's new developments going up. This is new construction now, and these are townhomes. The seller, the builder, just increased prices by 10% after they started construction. So where houses were in the mid 400s, they're now in the low 500s, not more than a year later, which is just incredible. And they're still being sold. So buyer demand. All right. So speaking of that, new home sales beat estimates. So we see on image here, we see a gradually increasing trend line, and we see the new home sales for at 470,000, which is about 7.6 months supply, give or take. So the new home sales, which measures signed contracts on new homes, like the ones I was just describing not too far from me, they rose 4.1% from August to September with 738,000 unit pace, reaching the highest level in over a year. Signed contracts, they were also 6.3% higher than they were in September of last year. There were also 470,000 new homes for sale at the end of September, which was up slightly from 468,000 available in August. However, only 108,000 were actually completed, with the rest of those huge numbers still either under construction or maybe not even started. So, more available supply obviously is needed. Bottom line here with this story is the latest report measures signed contracts in September. So it captured people shopping for homes when rates were lower than they are now. In case you didn't know, mortgage rates have actually been ticking higher since the Federal Reserve lowered their benchmark Fed funds rate. And there's been a lot of confusion on this. Everybody thought, well, mortgage rates should fall, but remember, mortgage rates aren't tied to the Federal Reserve rate. That's prime and credit cards and some other kinds of lending. Mortgage rates are tied to mostly the mortgage-backed security market, which is tied relatively closely in terms of trending lines to the 10-year Treasury bond. 10-year Treasury bond has gotten more expensive because we still are not sure what we're seeing with regards to the inflation numbers. We're going to see those huge reports coming out soon. So October's new home sales report will be released November 26th, and it could show some weakness given the recent move in with interest rates rising. So that's what I was just talking about. We'll see. Next story here is continuing jobless claims highest since November 2021. The latest number of people filing for unemployment benefits for the very first time declined by 15,000 in the latest week as 227,000 people filed their initial jobless claims. Continuing claims that rose by 28,000, with 1.897 million people still receiving benefits after filing their initial claim. Bottom line here with this story is, of course, initial jobless claims declined after the recent spike in filings that were due in part to the Hurricanes Helene and Milton. However, continuing claims remain elevated as they have now topped 1.8 million for the last 20 weeks and just hit their highest level since November 2021. Employers have clearly slowed down their pace of hiring, and people are collecting benefits for longer periods of time. And I think this is regional, right? We're seeing some folks in different sectors get out of work and having a terrible hard time getting back into that field of work. And this is obviously something to watch. This is very painful for a lot of folks, where you've got nearly 2 million people still receiving unemployment benefits, which of course are a fraction of their normal income. And a lot ties into that really ends up pushing a lot of dominoes. So hopefully that does not stay high like that for long. We'll have to wait and see. The next story is the latest LEI and Beige Book suggests slowing economy. So the Conference Board released their latest leading economic index, which is the LEI, which takes a broad look at the economy and tracks where it's headed in the near term. September brought a 0.5% drop, which followed August's 0.3% decline. This report's been negative for 29 out of the last 30 months, with other months being flat. The bottom line here is the overall LEI continued to signal uncertainty for economic activity ahead and is consistent with the Conference Board expectations for moderate growth at the close of 2024 into the beginning of 25. This is a quote, and it's explained by Justine Zabinska-La Monica, the Senior Manager for Business Cycle Indicators. This correlates with the Fed's latest Beige Book, which is a survey of economic conditions around the country. That report noted that, quote, on balance, economic activity was little changed in nearly all districts since early September, though 2 districts reported modest growth. Reports on consumer spending were mixed, with some districts noting shifts in the composition of purchases, mostly towards less expensive alternatives. Family hack of the week, gang. If you're watching this on video, you're going to see the on screen the recipe for the candy bucket cookies. This is courtesy of Food Network. And of course, it's what you do with leftover Halloween candy. So if you're looking to do something with leftover Halloween candy, head to this, and you're listening to me on podcast, head to this spot on the video over on YouTube or in Mortgage.community and check it out there. Here's what's coming on this week, gang. We've got housing, we've got inflation, and we've got jobs data. It's a busy week of reports. Look for the appreciation data on Tuesday. while Wednesday brings pending home sales and the first estimate of the third quarter GDP. The Fed's favored measure of inflation will come out as personal consumption expenditures. That's the PCE. That'll be reported this Thursday. We'll also see updates on job openings Tuesday, private payrolls on Wednesday, unemployment claims Thursday, and the unemployment rate Friday. Gang, I got news for you. It's going to be a busy week. And of course, we've got the elections coming up. It's like, if you don't have your head spinning yet, stay tuned. It probably will spin. So, as I've always said, if you're in the market for a new mortgage, sooner or later, you're going to have to pick one. And I'm always telling people, if you find a house, you find a deal, take the deal. If you can afford it, take the deal. If you can't afford it, do not take the deal. I don't care how good it looks. So make sure that you're working with a trusted advisor. If you ever need any help with regards to getting to that trusted advisor, or if you found yourself that you got turned down or you got some information and you're feeling kind of meh about the whole situation, reach out. We are starting up a new consumer end of explaining how mortgages work on the Mortgage Doc community, and look to see you there. It's just a little tease for those that are actually listening to the end of this recording. My name is Larry Bailey. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.